Welcome to another episode of Imagine That. I'm your host, Amanda, and today we're going to be talking about Adventureland through the eyes of the Imagineering Pyramid. But before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors, Sunken City Design, Getaway Today, and We're in the Park. And big shout out to our Lamplighters, our Patreons. Keep the conversation going over on our Discord, which if you haven't joined yet, you totally should. It's free, it's a lot of fun, and we're all in it. We're having awesome conversations each and every day. So click on the link in the show notes to check it out. But before we get into the topic, guess what, guys? The gang's back. We're all here. So let's go around and say hi. We'll start off with Kevin. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing great over here. Ready to talk about some adventure. It's going to be fun.
As always. And we have Lou over here to my left. How's it going, Lou?
I'm doing pretty good. We got the biggest guy on the team talking about the smallest land in the park, so I'm excited.
Is it the smallest land? I guess it is. Well, compared to like Bayou Country, about the same
Hard to
size,
tell
maybe.
that.
All right, I guess I messed that up. That was the wrong pitch. Yeah, you got me on that one. Bayou Country is a bit wee.
That's all right. That's all right. And last but not least, Sam's back. Sam, welcome
I
back.
missed you guys. Thanks.
We
Thanks.
missed
I'm glad. And I love Adventureland, so definitely a good topic to be coming back to.
Absolutely. So we are continuing on our series of breaking down each land at Disneyland and the corresponding park at either Magic Kingdom or wherever the corresponding park would be, and looking at it through the lens of the Imagineering Pyramid. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, be sure to head to the beginning episodes of our podcast where we did a full deep dive on the Imagineering Pyramid, the book by Lou Prosper. We had an interview with him and everything. So you have a lot to catch up on. But let's get started with it all begins with a story. As a first cornerstone of our first tier. So we always got to start with that. So, what is the story of Adventureland? Other than we're going on an adventure.
I think you nailed it. I think
For
that's about it, right?
yeah, there are so many elements of SEA that are just all sprinkled throughout, and I think it starting with a story is huge for Adventureland because this like SEA is a story that was originally created just for the parks. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It's just existing in the parks. So I think that the storytelling is pretty amazing as far as Adventureland goes.
Our listeners who
The
don't know
backstories.
what SEA is, can you give a quick
Oh,
little
sorry.
explanation?
Yes, SEA is the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. So people who love to go on adventures, and the backstories of a lot of the attractions, not just in Adventureland, but in international parks, in Magic Kingdom, Disneyland, there are backstories behind the attractions and the characters of the attractions. So some of the jokes you'll hear on the Jungle Cruise, some of the eating establishments, they are all tied into this kind of hidden history that is essentially a story created by Disney that if you know it, you know it. And if you don't, then it's time you find out.
Sam is definitely our resident expert when it comes to all things SEA. So, and there's so much to explore, I think, with that. Like, it's not just, just one subtle touch. Like you said, like there's so much detail packed into the storytelling within the SEA that weaves so well that, yeah, like you said, if you know, you know, if not, then it's just Adventureland. And it's awesome. It's awesome how they did that.
It feels like they try to keep it subtle, but like if you notice it, you notice it. Especially on the Adventureland treehouse when they reopened that. Where just little signs here and there, little books with the little logo on it. where you can totally miss it and not even know it's there. But for those of us who know, it's a fun nod.
I mean, if you even think about going into, oh my goodness, I just lost the name of it.
It's a hint.
The restaurant across from Jungle Cruise. Why can't I think of
The
it?
Bengal barbecue.
No.
That's-
At Magic
that or
Kingdom?
the Tropical Hideaway.
Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom.
Oh,
No.
Skipper
Skipper Canteen.
Skipper Canteen. Skipper
Skipper Canteen.
Skipper Canteen. Like, if you don't know to ask for like the SEA room, you don't realize that there's a whole room just filled with SEA things like the butterfly booth, all of these artifacts that are collected by essentially the person who owns the Jungle Navigation Company, who is not a real person, but he's part of that backstory. He's part of the story. So I like that there's the main story, like Kevin was saying, is basic adventure, and then there's this extra spin-off story for kind of those people who have delved a little bit deeper into the storytelling. So
Just so we don't get anyone
lots to look
lost over at the Magic Kingdom, the Skipper Canteen's kind of far from the Jungle Cruise itself. So it's closer to the Swiss Family Treehouse. If you go through the Swiss Family Treehouse, you might hit it.
Yes.
But yeah. Yeah, I do love the story for that restaurant. For anyone who hasn't been to the Magic Kingdom or been to that kind of hidden jewel over there, it's I actually was lucky enough to speak with Imagineer Kevin Lively at a MouseCon that we had in Bakersfield. I think it was January. And he was telling me about how he wrote the story for that restaurant and how the character of Alberta Falls, the granddaughter of the great Albert Falls, was created just for that restaurant because they were trying to figure out who should be the owner of the restaurant. He knew it couldn't be Albert Falls. He would have been too old based off of the time frame for that restaurant versus photos that they had mocked up for him being an older man like 20, 30 years earlier. So it's fun that they're willing to take that much time to focus on the story that they are telling, to have it where they get the facts, at least where they can be feasible. So I like that about it.
Yeah, and you can just, if you ever get a chance to go to the Skipper Canteen and just look around, there is so much to explore, and all the lore within the SEA and everything. It's a great restaurant also. There's fabulous food there, but just you can spend hours just going through room by room by room, the library, looking up at the ceiling, the second story that they've put in there, and yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs, so it's a great spot. Definitely check it out.
So we don't have an equivalent over on our coast here at Disneyland. I mean, the Tropical Hideaway is fun. We have Rosita hiding over in a corner. If you have been to the Tiki Room, I think did they say that over on the East Coast where they like mentioned Rosita is missing, during the show, like so it's fun that they finally put her in over there. I think so. It's been a while since we've actually sat through the show over at the Aloha Isle over there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so lots of storytelling, and I think it leaves a lot to the imagination as well. It's like it's not in your face of what the story should be because there's something special around every corner. The way that Adventureland is arranged on both coasts, the creative intent behind that, and the attention to detail, it winds itself around corners because you want that, like, ooh, what's over there? What's around that bend? Just around the river bend. And there's all of the different theming elements that go into making it a cohesive land, but also there's some subtle things like the ground will change. There's different footprints along the ground, or carts, or kind of tracks of different cars, or jeeps, kind of a thing, as you get to Indiana Jones. Um, and so all of that is the attention to detail and the theming that other travelers have been here before, and what have they explored, and you can have your own adventure in that same space and find new things. So I think that that's really cool. So
I do think it's interesting with the Magic Kingdoms. Like, I mean, I feel like the one in California doesn't really have a specific country that you're supposed to be in either. But over in the Magic Kingdom, you're kind of all over the place. Where you kind of start in Africa, I suppose, and because you have like the bridge with the masks on it. When you're coming from the hub for Main Street, that's kind of how it transitions in. But from there, you have the Swiss Family Treehouse. Then you have Agrabah somehow kind of thrown in there with the Jungle Cruise coming up and the Tiki Room that I still feels very Hawaiian for the Tiki Room. And then you even have Pirates of the Caribbean as part of Adventureland over at the Magic Kingdom. So it's definitely you're going all over the planet over here as far as not America, not the frontier, that's clear, but it's the rest of the world
Lots
is
of
the
adventures.
adventure.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not sure what the one in California is supposed to be other than kind of he starts out with the tiki room. So obviously you start off Polynesian, you got some Hawaii over there. And then it just kind of veers into just the jungle and the wilderness, I suppose. And you
I
get
do
to
have
Indiana Jones adventure.
a cool little tidbit about the attention to detail in the Jungle Cruise at Magic Kingdom. So their Imagineers, when they were building it and doing the show writing for it, were able to bring artifacts that they had at home from their family history and put them in the queue. So they all have their own little stories. And if you interview an Imagineer or talk to an Imagineer that worked on that queue, they have their own little stories within that too about how their pieces got added and what those pieces meant to their family. So I think that's something that's really special too.
It's fun attention.
They do change them out though. So they always, it's funny, like thinking like the Imagineers are going back and they're like, wait, is like my grandfather's piece still here? Or so it's interesting.
yeah, I would kind of be a little concerned if like you go back, thinking that a piece is still there and then it's not. I would be concerned that somebody might have taken it or something. At least be notified that it was removed temporarily.
Yeah. Well, I think that they were told that they would not be permanent, or that they could not be permanent, something like that. I can't remember the exact details, but they knew that they were not getting those pieces back. So if they were donating them, they were donating them for the lifetime of the item.
Okay.
We need to figure out who's curating that line to find out where they're hiding the secret items there.
Yeah. What is there a piece that that you would want to see in line that might not be currently there?
Not that I can think of.
I put you on the spot with that one.
I don't think so. I know Brian Collins, when he was an Imagineer show writer, when he was working on it, I know he told me about his grandfather's pipe being put into it. And so he always goes back and looks for it. And they write kind of like a little backstory for how each of the artifacts got there. They get their own like tags and stuff. So I don't know, I love seeing that aspect of, and again, attention to detail storytelling coming through into an attraction that so many people love, because every little bit can make a difference. So, and we're talking about it now, and I'm sure that other podcasts have talked about this. So it's adding a little extra storytelling that maybe we didn't have before. So it's now something new you can go look for in the parks, and you can be like, hey, I know a little bit more about this.
Exactly. So Lou brought up, just wanted to show from Disneyland. This is the area in green. If you are listening, then head on over to YouTube where we have our smiling faces and the map available to you. So here is the layout for Adventureland. It looks more straight and narrow on the map than it actually is. You do kind of curve around quite a bit compared to Walt Disney World, the layout is more spread out, as Kevin was mentioning. You weave in and out and around different attractions. Um, there's a lot more in the kinetics aspect, I feel, because you have the Aladdin ride with the magic carpets, which is kind of like a Dumbo type attraction, and the camels spitting at you. So watch out for that. Um, so there's a lot more in terms of movement. It's a bigger land, in comparison to Disneyland. But um, yeah, okay, let's do this. So I know we have a lot to talk about in the next tier, but let's take our first break and hear from Getaway Today.
It's been a great show so far, but who's ready for an ad break? Did you know that the best way to keep our shows going is by supporting our sponsors? So let's get to know more about the travel experts at Getaway Today. They've been helping to make vacation dreams come true since 1990. And whether you want to visit the happiest place on earth or to travel to Orlando for a most epic adventure, they are there to help. Are you trying to find out which hotel is your best option or which theme park tickets will work best for your visit? Are you concerned that you might need a last-minute change? No worries. Their travel experts will help you out. Looking to book a cruise but don't know where to start? Hey, they can help with that too. They will find the perfect cruise for your vacation, whether it's your first time or you're a well-seasoned cruiser. When you book your cruise with one of the Getaway Today experts, you will have a dedicated agent to help you every step of the way. They take care of the details so you can have the most fun. Getaway Today offers peace of mind travel, allowing you to cancel or make changes up to 72 hours before your trip. You will always have the most up-to-date vacation information, both pre-arrival and upon welcome. Getaway Today guarantees the best prices, with no hidden fees, and every time you book through Getaway Today, they will donate a portion back to a charitable organization in your area. And so far, over $4.5 million have been donated. So go ahead and dial 1-855-GETAWAY, that's 1-855-438-2929, and be sure to tell them that Walt's Apartment sent you. Or just click the link in our show notes for more information and the best deals to start your Disney, Universal Studios, or cruise vacation planning. What I'm trying to say is, if you like to travel, check out Getaway Today. Alright, so now it's time to get back to enjoying that view from Walt's apartment. Let's get back to the show.
Welcome back. Yes, be sure to check out Getaway Today for your next adventure. All right, so we left off with checking out the maps. So I'm going to pull up Disneyland again. And let's talk about the weenies, transitions, storyboards, and pre-shows and post-shows, that second tier of the pyramid. So as far as weenies go for Disneyland Adventureland, my first thing is the treehouse that comes to mind. Um, but what about you guys? Is there another one?
I mean, the sign on the bridge, I think, is definitely a weenie as far as from the hub, because it does have the huge
Sure.
Adventureland across the top there, letting you know that's where you're heading for adventure. What about you guys?
True.
Yeah, I think the treehouse for me is it's very unique that Adventureland has the treehouse on the one side and the sign on the other, but also too kind of a weenie that draws you in. For me, kind of starts on Main Street when you're up there by Walt's apartment and you hear that gunshot from the Jungle
Yeah.
Cruise. You're kind of like, what is that? And what you want to venture down there. So that's more of a kinetics, I would say. But you hear that and you're like, what's back there? But yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd say the treehouse.
Yeah. I mean, I know that we were talking about the kinetics could also be sound related as well. So I think you're right with that the gunshot that comes from the Jungle Cruise. That can definitely be part of the kinetics of it. And a weenie too.
Yeah, I know looking at this map, it seems like the Cambodian temple for the Indiana Jones ride is going to be a weenie. You can't really see that, I don't think, from the land itself. So that becomes a weenie once you actually get like down past the break into the ride. It looks huge on the map. It's kind of funny if everyone who's looking at this on YouTube, you can see that
Yeah.
it seems like it's the biggest part of Adventureland. But when you're there, you won't even notice that it's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you don't even know it's there until you're in line for it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's very much
Eh,
tucked away.
Maybe that's why they have to make it skewed bigger on the map so people can actually find it.
Yeah.
You know, it's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, I think Lou Prosperi talked about. I think we talked about how over at Universal Studios, where they have kind of hidden lands for their Harry Potter lands, where you don't even know that they are there until you're like actually inside, especially over at Universal Studios Florida for Diagon Alley, where you know there's dragons somewhere in the park, but you don't know where till you find it. So I think that's maybe what this is. So you see it on the map, and you know, hey, there is a temple over here, and you have to actually go on the adventure to find it. So that could be what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then switching over to Walt Disney World's Adventureland. Here we have a new layer because there's actually 3 entrances into Adventureland as opposed to the 2 on the Disneyland side. So depending on where you're coming in from, either the back part of Frontierland, the middle of Frontierland, or from Main Street, you're gonna have 3 focal points um, to start your adventure on. So I can't see anybody. So Sam, if you
You've got the
you're-
tree house.
yeah.
So you've got the tree house. And that's more so when you're coming in from Main Street or when you're coming over the bridge. And then coming in through the center, you're going to have Magic Carpet. Honestly, Aladdin for me is pretty much either of those 2 exits. I'm like, Aladdin's what I'm drawn to. I don't know. What do you guys consider the weenie for coming in from the other side?
No, I was just looking at the map because I thought I was crazy, but there's actually 4 entrances into Adventureland because there's 2 from Frontierland.
Oh.
One by the Country Bear Jamboree, then the other one that take where the Diamond Horseshoe is down. There's a little walkway through there as well.
Oh,
that one
that's
leads
right.
straight into the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like when I'm in the park, I don't even notice the Swiss Family Treehouse because there's so many other trees there. It just feels like I'm in the jungle until you get to like where the actual queue for that starts. You'll notice that it builds up to a tree.
I think you don't notice the tree because you're looking to the right where the Dole Whips are and where Skipper Canteen is.
We're so right.
Yeah.
I'm always looking more for Dole Whips or actually I don't, over there at the Sunshine Tree Terrace. Is that Dole Whips or their orange whips or whatever they call them?
Yes.
Those are they have, I think they have both.
Yeah.
I know
Aloha.
the orange
Oh,
bird
very-
is on that building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, is the Magic Carpet an opening attraction?
No, it is not.
No.
It was well. I mean,
Interesting.
obviously, the park opened in '72. Magic Carpets did come in till Aladdin opened
Oh, yeah.
in '92.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a dumb question on my end, but it stands out like a
Sometimes-
sore thumb.
Yeah, a lot of people have had issues with that guy ever since it was built. I mean, it's kind of a Dumbo clone, but it also does some tilting and a camel spits at you. So it's kind of an odd ride, for better or worse, I guess. It gives some kinetics, again, not to jump ahead on the pyramid, but it does have some movement that it adds that our land in Disneyland is missing. But it's
I mean, you also adds characters too.
Yeah.
So that are able to walk around that space.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
obviously the
'cause
map isn't
across
to
the way there
scale
you
here
have
as well.
Agrabah. Right.
What was that, Amanda?
I was gonna say they have the Agrabah like marketplace right next
bazaar,
to
yeah.
um yeah, so that's to Sam's point, that's where the meet and greets are for Aladdin and Jasmine.
I also just noticed you guys have pirates in this land as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was saying. Where like I can't tell where the storyline takes place because you do end up in the Caribbean from Africa, as you journey past Agrabah
Well,
and Hawaii.
I do recall when we were
Polynesia.
there last, we were studying the specific transitions from one area to the next within this land. So closer to the bridge, you had new pavement being paved with hints of green, more leaves being pressed in there, a lot of additional work being done to plus that space. Whereas closer to Pirates, the pavement changes, and you get a completely different feel to indicate that you are moving into a new area. The music, I think, is different in that area, and you can see just from the
Mhm.
architecture that you are in more of a Spanish style um, um, area. So that's where the Tortuga Bar is. There's a stage for some live performances, um, and yeah, and then you have the Pirates ride. So yeah, there's a lot going on right there.
I think the storytelling in the two different adventure lands is Disneyland is very much an adventure through, lands you don't get to see, stuff like that. Jungle Cruise, treehouse living, tiki room, a lot of like natural aesthetics of adventure. Man-made, almost kind of like a play, like riffing off of Magic or not Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, where you're questioning, like what Joe Rody says in Imagineering Story. What is this? Why is this? It's a theme of its own land. As we're like Walt Disney World seems like Adventureland through like a kindergarten story. I'm gonna be a pirate. I'm gonna go to Agrabah and fly magic carpets. I'm gonna eat pineapples on the Hawaiian Islands, where you're taking the word adventure almost from like a toddler sense and looking at that. It kind of Adventureland could be its own Toontown. If I mean, you could stretch it a little bit, where it's like everybody's having fun here.
You could just
In the
put
best
this
way.
guy
Everybody's
over
on
here,
it.
Figment. Just put Figment there and just start singing imagination. And then there you go. You can dream up your own adventure.
Yeah, it's the adventure of Imagination Land.
That is,
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
but
Most lands
I
at
do
Disney
agree.
parks are that way.
Yeah, I do agree with what you're saying, Lou. Of like with Disneyland, when you're walking through Adventureland, for me, even though there's a lot of people there, it seems like you are on your own adventure. Whereas Disney World, when I walk through there, also a good number of people, but it's like we're gonna tell you what adventure you're gonna be on. And I think those are two very different experiences. Um, and so I think the flow um of Disneyland's version is like full immersion, where there's trees everywhere. You have it's compacted, but there's so much packed into one small space. Um, and there's a lot of those details. Whereas Disney World is spread out over a larger plot of land, but it also is broken up into different um, countries, like we were talking about. So it quickly goes from one to the next. You don't really get that full immersion within Adventureland because you can already see where the next country is. So I think it takes you out of that element a little bit. To your point.
It's also a unique representation of Walt Roy, because Disneyland was based off the True Life series, the animal series that Walt and the Disney company put together, as where Adventureland through Roy's eyes was adventure through, pirates, the adventures and stories that were created through Disneyland. Obviously with the exception of Aladdin that we've just recently found out. But it's very unique. But one thing I like about Disneyland's Adventure 2 with the story, some could argue that Adventureland has probably the most exotic food menu in Disneyland proper. I mean, you got the skewers, the over at the Tropical Hideaway, the meals there, even the I forget the store's name, right outside of Jungle Cruise. You can go there and you can find cherry Coke, vanilla Coke, things that you can't find elsewhere in the park, at least not that I've ever seen, but you could find those in that store there. And I was like, interesting how they're kind of giving you other flavors, not quite exotic, but you only find them in Adventureland. I've never found vanilla Coke anywhere else in the park but that store.
You talking about South
Interesting.
Sea Traders?
I believe so. It's right outside of Jungle Cruise.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You could find cherry Coke and vanilla Coke there.
Did not know that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like they should put in like a club
next
cool
time
or
we're-
something over in Adventureland. It'd make a lot of sense so we can taste the Cokes from around the country or the world. I mean,
Around the world.
yeah,
Specifically
cool.
Beverly.
yeah. The
Always
Italian
been more
Beverly's
Beverly.
most adventurous drink in the world, 100%.
That's awesome. All right. Well, speaking of all of the little details around Adventureland, let's get to know where in the park and the details you can experience there.
Hey fam, what scavenger hunt are you doing?
Well, we are doing Where in the Park.
Do you guys know Where in the Park? Because we do.
We do.
So how you play this is that they give you a deck of cards with an image on it, and you get to look around and see where in the park that is.
And they're fun. So if you like to find stuff, this is what you need to do.
The amazing game, Where in the Park, right here.
If you're a seasoned Disney park goers as we are, it's a fun, challenging even for the hardcore Disney parks fan.
We have played the Where in the Park games that we felt like, ooh, we got
Still
this
a
in the
challenge.
bag. Oh no, yeah, still a challenge, a fun challenge though, not an impossible challenge.
Check
Yeah,
them
really
out.
they get really close to details, and you're like, I have never even seen that. I don't even know.
Where in the park have I seen that?
The great thing about these is that they're not in attractions and they're out in the open places. It's meant for families to play.
Besides people who've been there a lot, it's fun for people that are new to the parks as well, because you catch some of those details that you would probably miss when you're first going.
So there's images that you are finding on one side of the card, and then the other has the hint and the answer that you can reveal if you choose to.
Before it was just the hint and the answer, but now if you really want the land,
It'll tell you
they'll
where.
give you the land for an extra hint. You guys can take as long as you wish without the hint.
Yeah.
Without the hint, it's hard.
But that's what makes it fun.
But they do not just do Disney parks, obviously. What other parks do you guys actually cover?
Universal and
yeah.
all that good stuff.
East Coast, West Coast, and they're
Yes.
continuing to expand even more after that.
Check them out, whereinthepark.com, if you need to get some game packs. They are so much fun.
We appreciate Where in the Park.
You know, they're awesome.
We love
Kevin and
that.
Amanda.
Get you some Where in the Park today.
Hell yeah.
Use promo code Walt's APT Podcast to save 10% at whereinthepark.com.
Absolutely. Get you some Where in the Park today. Right now, we have a fantastic fundraiser going on to help support the San Diego House Rabbit Society. We have 2 buns that are in the Where in the Park team and 2 represented here in the Imagine That crew with our rabbit Clem and Sam's rabbit Pancake. So
Pancake, yep.
we are very proud to support the San Diego House Rabbit Society going on now through April 20th. We're having 10% on all of our games from the San Diego area will be going towards them. So there's 5 games to choose from. So go ahead and check out our website for more information. All right. So back to Adventureland. So yeah, we have the top half of the pyramid with all kinds of force perspective, readability, connects. We kind of touched on a little bit, but where would you guys like to go next?
So many choices.
I'll jump on it once.
I mean, just starting from the top, right? Forced perspective. I'm trying to think of good examples of that in Adventureland. Obviously, over in Florida, you do have their the magic lamp, which on the map looks huge, and like when you're in person, it looks not as huge, but it makes it look like it's higher up, I suppose. The way it's kind of tapered in. Um, the buildings obviously aren't to scale, at least not at Disneyland. They look like they aren't at Disney World either. I'm looking at the Google Street View of it over here, just to see if my memory is correct. And I think, yeah, they definitely have it where you can tell that the second half is shorter than the first half, just like they do on Main Street USA. So it makes you feel like you're kind of in a magical place that you feel taller and the world feels a little bit more. I don't know if cartoonish is the right term, but it definitely has a word. You feel like something is not the real world while you were there. So what do you guys think?
I would say too
I
that
think,
the tree houses themselves also have a sense of forced perspective, because like it look from the ground, it looks like that those tree houses are like 5-6 stories tall, but when you're in it, it's like, okay, maybe not that high, you know. And it just keeps like winding around on itself, but it just keeps going. It's so much to explore there.
I even think the pattern on the canopies for Jungle Cruise make the boats seem like they're a different size than they actually are.
Sounds all right. Yeah.
Lou?
I mean, kinetics is where I'm going for Disneyland Adventureland because, I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, I was sad when they took out Tarzan because I like Tarzan. I think it's a great film. And I honestly thought the stump that led you over to the tree was solid. But man, the Swiss Family Treehouse inspired, or how whatever it is, the treehouse inspired by the Swiss Family Robinson of Walt Disney. I don't know the name. That tree is
Adventureland.
loaded. Oh, the Adventureland treehouse is loaded full of kinetics. But even I go back to the Jungle Cruise, the gun when you hear first on Main Street and you hear that revving of the motor of the boats. I mean, there's that. The Tiki Room, you hear the goddess and all them getting ready to start the show. Back in the days, if you're a real OG Mainer, lassoing you into the Tiki Room to say, hey, come on in. I mean, I would say Adventureland is giving my favorite land a battle for kinetics because there's so much things moving. The smells, I mean, Bengal barbecue, you walk through there, you can't not smell that. And then to come out of Adventureland and see the Mark Twain and the ship, sailing ship Columbia, that exit from the treehouse into Pirates of the Caribbean, that right there is a postcard image.
Yeah. I would say too the sounds of all the birds, even though there's no birds like flying around, but there's birds through the trees everywhere in Adventureland. That's a good one.
I'm still looking at Walt Disney World over here. I feel like there isn't as much kinetics. I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, they have the flying carpets from Aladdin. I don't know if it's just kind of a symptom of hurricanes that everything's kind of tied down over there. They have a lot of trees, obviously. On a windy day, you have kinetics from the trees. We've had conversations in the past of if trees count as kinetics. I guess I'm still on the fence on that one. I give it a yes, but I know I've been told I am wrong. But yeah, I mean, it seems like there isn't a lot of other things here really moving around other than the people and yeah, the trees and then that one ride. Because even the Jungle Cruise over there is kind of tucked away where you don't really have that. It's not as audible from the main walkway as it is over at Disneyland. So yeah, and Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously, just like over here, it's all indoors, but you can't even see the front part of it over here. Whereas over in Disneyland, if you look over toward the right, like from the bridge at least, you can actually see inside of the attraction and see the boats going by.
Yeah, you really would have no idea what it is. Yeah, you really would have no idea what Pirates is unless you see the sign.
You have to know what it is before you'll know what it is.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Now, question. So you guys have been on both coasts. I have not. Which Pirates is better? Disneyland.
Well,
or Walt
Disneyland's is
Disney?
longer. I think it's not even an argument. I think most people who've been to both like agree with this. The problem is that Pirates of the Caribbean over was an afterthought, where they didn't plan to put it in that park. They were going to put in the Western River Expedition by Mark Davis. You can look it up. It's a great story. But after the park opened, a lot of guests were complaining that they didn't have the brand new ride from Disneyland that they'd heard all about. So one of the biggest complaints was that park didn't have Pirates of the Caribbean. So they rushed development on it and they cut out a few drops. And because I mean, the drops over here added necessities to get past the berm, where they didn't have that placed over there where they would need that. So they skipped it. So you don't have the two drops like you do over on our coast, and you don't have as long of a scene with the pirates with the skeletons. And yeah.
You also
So
can't
that's
have the drops in the Walt Disney World side because you'll hit the water table. You can't
I mean, the whole park's built on the second floor, so I mean, it does have a drop. You just can't go further.
It does have a drop. You can't go another drop down.
Well, I mean, you could be like over in Paris where they had it where it starts out by going up and then drops later. I know we're not going to talk too much about international parks, but that's how they solved it over there.
Well, that's
people
not
complain
what we
so much
got,
about this
so.
one. Yeah.
But
I mean, it's still a great ride.
I
still go on it.
For those who are listening, if you stick around for our second episode of this, we get to throw the construction gloves on and reimagine, rebuild, and retheme some stuff. So a whole lot of plussing.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and one of the things that I'm looking forward to plussing is the readability, especially at Walt Disney World, because like we were talking about, there's a lot going on. A lot of countries are thrown in there, and with like I mentioned with the Disneyland, it's compact, and you are going on one adventure wherever you want to go, but it's your story to tell, and Walt Disney World is very different, and I think the readability is kind of all over the place, as we've discussed. Of like, what is this? Where are we? What's going on? And very quickly, you're in a different country. So, I think the readability can definitely be plussed, and that's on my docket for next time for sure. So, yeah. You have any other thoughts on readability? Is there anything that they're doing well in the readability factor?
I mean, you know you are in any other land when you are in Adventureland. It is not Frontierland. It's definitely not Tomorrowland. You know that you are in this specific world that they've created of adventure. So as far as that goes, I think the readability is pretty on both sides, both coasts. I never have walked through Adventureland on either coast and thought, which land is this that I'm currently in? You know, it definitely has that feel, and I love it.
I mean, Adventureland on our side, that little entrance from the hub where you can go, everyone streams left, but you can go right. And especially right now with the Great Walls of Bathroom, that readability right now has been a challenge that they've had going for some time now. I'm not opposed to them filling in that gap, but that's for a later time. That's the only thing that I feel readability when you first walk into Adventureland. You could walk into Adventureland, and if you hang a right, you're like, wow, Adventureland has a very strong Western theme. And that's not Adventureland. So you almost have to be told, stay left. So that way you know you're in Adventureland.
Yeah.
Those walls that you could tell they meant them to be very temporary and they just haven't solved it yet. I'm not really sure how long until that gets fixed. But hopefully someday soon.
Yeah, we talked with we spoke with Sam McKim on that one because he had a
Matt McKim.
big hand in creating. Sorry, Matt McKim. Thank you. Because we had a big hand in creating Adventureland, and that construction wall was definitely a point of conversation. They definitely need to do something with that. That's for sure.
In recreating,
But-
we should specify. He wasn't there when it was first created. His dad, though, did
That's what I
some
meant.
concept art for. Yeah, Sam McKim did some concept art for the land, as well as Harper Goff did a lot of the different work there, and Herb Ryman also had some concept art. So it was definitely a lot of
Lou?
the Disney legends were involved.
I anticipate Lou taking care of that in his work for next week, though, or for our next recording. Put it on the list, big guy.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, speaking of Lou, let's take our last break and hear more from Sunken City Design.
Sunken City Designs brings you art. Do you like art? What about Disney characters like Mickey Mouse and the Oyster Thieves? You know, that's actually from Alice in Wonderland, the best princess movie ever made. Also, we have some dwarfs that have their heads ripped off sometimes. Why? I don't know. It's because it's Sunken City Design. So go there, sunkencitydesign.com. Get yourself some great merchandise. You got posters and, I believe, clothes. Who knows? I got a cup from there, and it's fantastic. Do you like cups? Do you ever use those? I do. Go for it. Oh yeah, sweatshirts. Can't forget about those. If you're ever cold, get yourself a sweatshirt from sunkencitydesign.com. Also, WALL-E. You know, that's the best movie ever made. Second only to Alice in Wonderland. All right, if you also like Walt's Apartment, they have merch for that too. Where? sunkencitydesign.com. Hopefully you've already loaded up that site and you're looking at it and you have some items in your cart. Go ahead and check out as soon as you can because the show's about to come back on. All right, everybody, we appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Lou. What do you have on tap going on over at Second City Design?
Oh man, we got quite a bit going on at Second City Design right now. We have May 31st. We will be down in Oceanside, hanging out with the Noel Family Foundation, hanging out with the entire Sublime Sober Festival going on. We got different projects coming up. A lot of collaborations here in the Joshua Tree area, from the college to the Boys and Girls Club. So mildly switched up our tracks. Instead of going with a lot of individual artwork, a lot more of community projects. So right now we are staying busy as much as possible and having fun doing it.
Wonderful.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I love all the work that you're doing. And another plug for our Discord. If you're not on there, Lou's been posting what he's been working on over on our Discord as well. Some behind the scenes drawings and all the fun things. So definitely check that out. That's awesome, Lou.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So rounding out the top of the pyramid here, we have the It's a Small World effect in Hidden Mickeys and plussing, which we'll talk about next time. But does anyone have like a specific hidden Mickey that comes to mind? I think for me, the It's a Small World effect has got to be the Tiki Room song. That's just me, maybe. So
Yeah,
But-
definitely for the It's a Small World. You have on the other coast, obviously, you have Pirates of the Caribbean as well. You have Yoho Yoho. I would argue also on the Jungle Cruise, like the O2H chant would count. But for anyone who's been lucky enough to have that Jungle Cruise skipper as you're going through the backside of water, so that kind of gets stuck in you. As far as hidden Mickeys, we've discussed that hidden Mickey isn't necessarily a Mickey Mouse. Obviously, we all know what a hidden Mickey is and like how there's official rules with the sizes and stuff. But the hidden item that I like over at our Disneyland site over here is the window dedicated to banjo lessons from Professor Harper Goff, where there aren't a lot of windows in Disney parks outside of Main Street that are dedicated to people. So this is a fun one. I love that they recently touched it up and it looks beautiful. and it belongs there. I mean, it really does. He did do a lot of work. I mean, he did a lot of work on Main Street as well. But a lot of work on Adventureland, and the way it looks is really inspired by his work. So I'm glad that that's there. And for anyone who doesn't know, he was part of Disneyland kind of adjacent band, the Firehouse 5+1, I think.
Yeah.
Where he played the banjo. So that's why he has banjo lessons.
And for those who don't know where his window is, it is above the Adventureland Bazaar. So if you are at the Jungle Cruise, turn around and you will see the Adventureland Bazaar. You'll see a set of stairs that go to the second story, which guests could not go to. It's just a facade, but there is a window very prominently showing there for banjo lessons. I think that's my favorite one too. I'm really glad that they touched it up, because every time we walked by it and before they touched it up, it was in really bad shape.
All the letters were curling.
So it looks much better now.
I think for me, it's
Sam, what's
probably
your
the
favorite hidden
butterfly.
Mickey?
Mine is not per se a Mickey per size, but I think the entire butterfly booth for me is something that I think is really special. So if you go, again, you have to go through the bookshelf to go into the SEA room, but that butterfly booth gets mentioned a lot in the backstory. So just knowing that that's where Albert Falls was having his meetings with SEAs in that butterfly booth. So I think that's my favorite, because if you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there.
I'm gonna go make a special trip to it next time we go to the park. Make sure.
And then get the taste like chicken, because it does. It's my favorite.
Because it is.
Or taste like chicken because it is. Because it is.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's a very punny menu. It's a lot of fun, as well as just silly jokes. Just like.
What about you, Lou?
How about you?
Man, Adventureland, this is a hard one for me. I don't know of too many actual hidden Mickeys, too many things I would consider a hidden Mickey. I feel like Adventureland is probably the land I spend the least amount of time in. But when I'm in Adventureland, I think the thing that sticks out most for me that isn't a hidden Mickey in Adventureland, but you can only see it from Adventureland, has got to be the sails above New Orleans Square. Seeing them from the treehouse. I don't know if you can since the remodel. I haven't spent much time up there since then. But before Tarzan, before they rearranged, I think it was the Jaguar room, you can see the sails through there. But I think they've added more leaves and stuff like that since then. But yeah, that was probably my favorite little Easter egg. Was go because they're literally pointless. There's no reason for those, because if you know, you know. But just attention to detail, and they're up there in the way back. Again, if they're not there, I apologize for staring, but they were there the last time I spent a lot of time in Adventureland, which is good for time.
I'm pretty sure they're still there. If I recall correctly, when we were up there last, I want to say they were there. I know for sure the Louisiana flag is still there, even with the current construction going on in that area. I know that one for sure is there, but the other ships, I'm pretty sure they are. I'll have to take a look next time. That's a good one, though. You're right. Like, you can only see it from certain angles, and it's very, very, very quick. Like, blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
So,
and
those are great details.
And if I had to go to Adventureland proper, it'd probably be Rosita. How you hear about her in the Tiki Room show, but and if you don't catch it, you can miss it. And then if you see her at Tropical Hideaway, you're like, oh, there's another bird. It's like if you pay attention, not that people don't pay attention, but you can miss it. And it's like, wait, that's the bird that's missing.
She's full of jokes.
Very Adventureland focused as far as like they like to have punny jokes, and I love that.
Punny, yeah.
Not necessarily funny, but they're definitely punny.
They're dad jokes.
They're awesome.
There's also the Jade Elephant above, I guess the stroller parking over by the Jungle Cruise nowadays, where that elephant used to be in the Gibson Girl ice cream parlor on Main Street back in the day. So it's just kind of a fun little reuse of a prop, I guess. But it looks like it belongs where it is. I don't know. If it didn't. It looks better in Adventureland than it ever did in Main Street, in my opinion. So, but as far as just like a hidden nod to the past over here, I like that they put her up there.
Yeah, I think that could be a weenie as well, because as you round the corner, if you are looking up above that stroller parking area, there's all kinds of different boxes and deliveries there, and that is a huge elephant that is up on top of a building, so it kind of draws you in to take a closer look. So yeah, I'm really glad that they kept it, and like you said, it's a good nod to the early days of Disneyland. So
I forgot she's actually from Disneyland Paris. We recently learned her name is Penny, and she came from the Penny Arcade, where she was filled with pennies in Paris, which is fun to say out loud.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
then
cute.
They shipped her over to the Gibson Girl, and until 2012, she was shipped over to Adventureland. So, yeah.
What did they do with all the pennies, though?
I believe they spent them. That's how they were able to ship her over.
Oh, makes sense.
Cost
She
less
had to
back
pay
in
her
the
way.
90s.
She had to pay her way.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
And with that, do we have any other tidbits to add before we close out?
I got a little announcement for the next episode.
Okay.
Just gonna share. Indiana's not making the cut.
Talking
I'm
about
not
the state.
surprised.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah,
No,
sometimes
no,
you
no,
refer to
not-
Sam as
not-
Indiana because that's where she's from.
Sorry. No, that was good. No, for all you Disneyland fanatics, Indiana Jones may not make the armchair for me. So just giving you a little sneak peek what's to come for the next episode.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. They're moving him over to
Indiana Jones
Animal
and then
Kingdom.
just right. That's true. It's going to Animal Kingdom.
You could just
So
transplant
you're not going to
it.
approve it with Indiana. Yeah. We already know he's going into Animal Kingdom, so that's perfect. Time for a change. We'll find out what Lou's change is the next time here on Imagine That.
No, we can't close it out just yet because
Oh, that's not how it is. Okay.
we need. No. No.
I just feel like I was watching
we
a
close-
soap opera.
Oh my goodness.
In a way, it is.
Right. Okay, so if you have enjoyed this episode, please scroll down on your podcast player or on YouTube. Give us that 5-star rating. If you have an extra minute to write a written review, we would love that so much. Share it with another armchair Imagineer. That would be amazing. Only takes a couple of seconds, and it tells all the players that we are doing something great here, and it really helps out the channel. So thank you so much for doing that. Don't forget to check out our amazing sponsors, our absolutely free Discord, and our Patreon page for more details. Everything is in the show notes below. But until next time, please continue to place trust in the magic of imagination, and remember, the details within the parks surround us in our everyday lives. Imagine that. See you next time.
come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.